Then there's this thing called cash flow quadrant. And that's basically saying that there's 4 basic ways that you can earn a living. You can earn a living as an employee, as a self-employed, as a business owner, or an investor. 4 basic ways. And again, in the United States, most people, some 90% of the population, earns their income as an employee or as a self-employed. Now, that's interesting because that means that only 10% of the people, only 1 out of 10 people earn income as a business owner or an investor. Now, you got 90% over here, well, the way you're looking at it, 90% of the people on the left-hand side of the quadrant, and on the side where most people generate their income, 9 out of every 10 people. It's interesting to note that only 10% of the nation's wealth is generated from working as an employee or self-employed. 9 out of every 10 people earn their income that way, but only 10% of the wealth is earned over there. Conversely, only 10% of the people earn their income as business owners or investors. 1 out of 10 people, and yet 90% of the wealth is created on the right side of the quadrant. And if you understand that, then you should understand that the right side is the right side. And yet most people are operating over here. And I think it's because they haven't been educated. They don't really understand that. And that's one of the reasons that's driving me to get this information in front of individuals like yourself, is because I believe you need to understand that so that your choices, you'll make better choices. Okay? So that's a little bit about cash flow. Now let's talk about leverage. Leverage is anything that gives you the ability to do more through using it than you otherwise could without it. And the example I like to use there is purchases. Okay? Such as like when you go to buy a home or you go to buy a car. Even though we say you purchase a home or a car, most people really don't purchase it. They borrow money to acquire it. Most people do not have the cash to outright pay for a car or a home. So what they do is they borrow money. And those borrowed funds can be referred to as leverage, because that borrowed money gives people the ability to do something, to acquire a house or a car, which they otherwise could not do without the borrowed funds. So that's a form of leverage. And you can have leverage with a lot of different things. You can leverage people's time, people's talents, people's abilities. And that's what employers do with employees. They leverage your time, your talent, and your ability, and they use those things to generate profit. And you need to understand that. Your employer's using your time to leverage your time, your abilities, your skills, your know-how to generate a profit to the owner. But see, the problem is most individuals don't have any leverage working for them. And that's a problem. Again, that's why I want you to understand it. Then there's this concept called mind your own business, the name of this site. Why is that name? Well, what mind your own business means financially is the practice or the strategy of acquiring assets. When you mind your own business, it means that you're taking some of your available income and you're using it to acquire assets. So instead of simply spending money on clothes or jewelry or entertainment and recreation, you spend some of that money on an asset, something that's going to make you money, something that's going to generate more income than the cost of owning the asset. So anything that does that is an asset. So again, if you understand that, it makes sense to acquire assets. If you want to know what the secret of generating wealth is, it's really assets. Think about wealthy people. What do they own? Take a guy like Bill Gates. What's his asset? Microsoft. Okay? Bill Gates doesn't work for money. He generates money through this asset called Microsoft. Ray Kroc, McDonald's. Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, okay? Dell Computers, Michael Dell, okay? Walmart, Sam's Club, that's the Walton family, okay? See, these people who have wealth, they understand the ownership of assets. The unfortunate reality is that the average person doesn't own any assets. Even though you have the ability, the freedom, and the power to go out and acquire assets, most people don't do it. And again, I think it's because of financial ignorance, which is one of the reasons I'm going over these fundamentals. Then we have this term